Café Anyway. What the?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
How did I suddenly wind up here at Mike's Daily Podcast at Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And it's episode 2733. How are you doing? That's great. I see you are getting really tired of Christmas songs. You want to hear something other than Jingle Bells and Let It Snow, Let It Snow. That's okay. That's not wrong.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
There's a little bit of oversaturation this time of year, that's true. But thank you for listening to
Mike's
Daily Podcast.
Daily
Somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Podcast.
The last place on earth.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and Rocky the cat is sleeping not too far away from us. How wonderful. Last night, we were streaming the television, watching a wonderful show called Vera. Yes, Vera. It is a huge show in England. You can watch it on BritBox, although it kind of bounces between BritBox and Acorn. Sometimes you have to watch it off at Acorn. Either way, the wonderful people there at Amazon Prime let you watch it if you pay a little bit extra. And that's my point, is we're paying a little bit extra. Yes, 2023 streaming bills got a lot more expensive. Gone are the days of cheap streaming. Remember those days? I remember getting Netflix and going, oh, that's pretty cool. I can just pay this much. And I can stream, which doesn't work because it didn't work back then very well. It took forever. Or I get a DVD sent to me in the mail. And then I send it, when I send it back, they give me another one, etc. Well, now, as you know, that's long gone. A couple people still have DVDs that are like, I'm not going to touch the internet. I want the thing physically in my hands. But to be able to stream is what everyone's doing. It's gotten to be easy for everyone.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Unlike, and I want to finish that sentence, unlike, in just a moment, the podcast picture, though, is of the beautiful little house that I don't think they put these decorations up this year, but it's in Podcastro Valley. In fact, I walked past it last week and they didn't have their decorations up yet. So I'm thinking they're not going to do it this year. But you can see this house, this beautiful house, the beautiful decorations they did. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com is the podcast picture. The late great Basil, the boxer, and I walked past it. Oh, and I saw a boxer today. Got to meet this one guy who lives down the street. He is also bald, although now, I have facial hair, but he went the ultra facial hair route, where it looks like a goat. It comes down. He looks like an evil wizard, but he's a really nice guy, very sociable. He's an evil wizard that likes to wear camo. So I don't know what that is, but he's bald, and he's got this dog. Now, he had a dog named Duke, a boxer, before this one. This new one's called Hilo. Super cute dog. It's just a puppy. Just about 8 months, not quite a year old, and full of energy. Boxers are just jumping around. They want to play. They want to play. And they want to see what you're doing. They want to be there all the time. They're your best friend. That's why to this day, I still cry when I think about Basil. And that's true of every boxer owner. They just cry like crazy. I mean, other dogs are fantastic as well. And I will probably never get another boxer again. I know. I will be happy to meet boxers.
Agenda with Kevin.
It's a song I wrote called Walking My Boxer that I think is on my website somewhere. But this wonderful boxer, he did had the kind of mannerisms that I remember Basil had. And it's so much fun, but just so much energy. And the dog that they had before, the same owner, Duke, one time Duke was off leash and we're walking past the house that Duke lived at. And Duke ran over to Basil and they immediately start fighting. It's like total big time barking, biting. And I made the mistake of trying to grab his collar. Never, ever do that, which was stupid because he was on a harness. All I had to do was pull the harness back because that was attached to the leash. Instead, I reached instinctively.
This is Mike's Podcast Picnic.
And my hand got in front of Basil, and he bit me right in the middle of my hand, right in the palm. And I start bleeding like crazy. I did not go to the doctor. I did see somebody in the medical profession did look over my hand and said, maybe you should go to the doctor, but it ended up healing anyway. It was it was kind of weird. It was kind of like stigmata almost, but that was not the only time Basil bit me in a similar situation where I put my hand where it shouldn't be. And I have a scar. He didn't bite me, but there was a dog, Bailey, who's still alive. I talked about Bailey recently. She's still doing well. But the two of them got in a fight over food. And I went to grab Basil's collar yet again, instinctively. And I shouldn't have, especially after been bitten twice shy and all that. Anyway, I got bit by Bailey. And I have that scar somewhere on my hand, but I can't see it because my fingers are now wrinkled. So the joy of wrinkles, it covers up your scars, sort of. So what that was today was an enjoyable day to see the wonderful new boxer down the street, Hilo. Just be careful. Oh, lovely lady friend is back. That's what I meant when I said be careful. Welcome back, lovely lady friend. I'm doing the podcast. That's what I'm doing.
The Royal Trump Tweet Decree.
Apparently, 2023 represents a year of change for media after rising costs and debt-ridden balance sheets. Media giants enacted mass layoffs. They rolled out ad-supported tiers. They bundled their offerings. And they raised the monthly prices of their respective subscription plans that have multiple subgenres. Lovely lady friend, do you want to be on the podcast? You have to get ready. Okay, she has to get ready, everybody, as we go outside of Café Anyway. Where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. What's she getting ready for? She's getting ready to Jingle Bell Rock.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Streaming profitability has still a long way to go with virtually all media companies, except for Netflix. But all the other streaming companies are losing money. Apple raised prices, the monthly cost of streaming services that Apple TV Plus does. It goes up by $3 for new subscribers up to $9.99. Apple also raised prices on other subscription services like Apple Arcade, Apple News Plus, and its bundled offering Apple One. And I think the Apple Arcade is some kind of video game thing. Apple's News Plus is news about apples and how good they are for you. And when you eat them, it gives you so much energy. Is that what it is? Apples? What are apples anyway? Netflix announced it would be raising prices for its basic and premium plans, which now cost $11.99 and $22.99. What? $22.99 for the premium. Disney hiked their streaming prices two times this year to $13.99 a month. That's now double the $6.99 monthly cost when it first launched just a few years ago in 2019. Remember? There was no Disney Plus before 2019. Warner Brothers, Discovery, Paramount, and Comcast Peacock also upped the cost. Peacock used to be free if you had Comcast. Now you have to pay for it, or I don't think you get the premium. I forget how that works, but I remember I tried to log into Peacock to watch something, and they were like, nope, you got to pay for it. YouTube TV jumped, check this out. It used to be $64.99, now it's $72.99.
Woo!
And Hulu and live TV with ads, yes, with ads, so you have to still sit through commercials. That jumped from $6.99 or $69.
Mike is on it, man.
Go where no man has gone before.
We love it, Mike.
Actually, $70 to $77. Added up, the cost of these services now rival the dreaded cable TV, which we all thought as this was starting to roll out, as this was starting to happen, wait a minute. So I used to have to buy cable, and I used to have to buy all of these channels that I didn't even want and pay this crazy price. Now, if I want something like streaming, I got to pay for that and the cable and everything else. You just have to at some point go, what do I really want to see? Do I want to see all the crazy same stuff that Netflix puts out? Or am I more of a British type?
Holding court with Lady Katie. Lady Katie.
To watch through Amazon Prime.
You know, I mean, people get stuck on stupid. You know what I mean?
These are all questions. It is interesting that streaming has gotten so big, has become such a huge thing. Everybody's spending so much money on it, but although some not making a profit, as we were just talking about, but in the world of podcasting, is that even taking off? So you have traditional cable, which is what everybody's using, and then they took a little step off and stuck their foot in the water of streaming, and they pushed off and they liked the streaming, and now they're all in the pool with the streaming. Same with podcasting. Everybody was into radio and listening to radio or CDs or tapes, if you remember that. Not that long ago, I still got a bunch of cassettes.
Mike's cassette cubby hole.
All the stuff, the Mike, let's go back with Matthews, Mike's cassette cubby hole and all that. There's a lot of cassettes around. It is weird because I don't think it's as big. If people stepping off and trying the new world of streaming.
Welsh on the world.
People are doing that way more than they're doing the podcasting or checking out podcasting because it's just not as easy to do. You got to take a couple steps. Some cars are equipped with all that, and you can just press a button and start listening to podcasts. Maybe it's hooked up to Spotify and you can listen to Mike's Daily Podcast through there. But if you are like I'm doing, I have a phone that connects to the computer, the Bluetooth in the car. And it's a car that's about 13 years old. And I can listen on an app, and I'm finding the YouTube Music app is very good for that because, and this is the one thing, and this is what I was going to say last night or last morning or last day, whenever the last podcast was, Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. I was going to talk about how for years I've been trying to find a podcast app that you could just press play and it would play through all the podcasts and you wouldn't have to keep, most podcast apps, the podcast ends and then you got to go and you got to hit play on the next one.
We will travel into the incredible universe.
And I have not been able to find, I had the Stitcher shirt on yesterday and Stitcher's now defunct. It got absorbed by Sirius XM and Pandora. And now we've got YouTube Music, though, that allows you to play. It has a feature called New Podcasts, and you can arrange them so it's the newest one at the top, and you just hit play, and it'll go through in descending orders, with the newest one first to the furthest, the oldest one. And you don't have to keep hitting play. And in fact, and that's the other thing, is that a lot of podcasts, apps, the screen will blank out on your phone. And a podcast will end and, now you got to open your phone up again. What's my password? Okay. What's my PIN code? Okay, let me open that up. Oh, and I'm driving too. While all this is happening, I'm driving. And I shouldn't be doing all this because I should be focusing on driving. So the podcast apps must have caused a lot of accidents. That's the unknown quantity. That is the unspoken story. But I am sure that there's a lot of car accidents that were caused by people trying to listen to podcasts or trying to do something with their phone regarding an app that wasn't that user friendly.
Kathy's Corner.
Kathy's Corner.
use a very user-friendly app if you're going to listen to podcasts like YouTube Music, because it does let you play the podcast without having to keep hitting play.
When you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
Set it and forget it is what these podcasts should have learned to do. And so there're just not that many smart people making good podcast playing apps out there. The ones that are out there are horrible. And I thought it would only get better, and they've just gotten worse. So, and of course, they start playing those ads, and you want to click through it, but you can't. You got to focus on your driving.
I got through that. I got into it.
Perhaps some of this makes sense to you, but this is what I wanted to get out about all of that. And maybe, number one, podcasts will become more popular and will become more prevalent as streaming has become.
This show is clean.
Ubiquitous. Or, number two, and podcast apps will become more friendly and won't cause as many car accidents.
Pretty much.
Hopefully these two things happen is what I am hoping for. Another interesting story here is that consumers are turning to buy now, pay later. Yes, that is Wimpy's plaintive offer to gladly pay you Tuesday for a burger today.
Fabagoo, things to do.
Popeye was not my favorite cartoon, although all the voiceover stuff on that show was weird and fun. It was like, it was just probably one guy. That makes no sense. Why would one guy do all the voices?
Fans mutations.
So a recent poll reported that more than 1/3 of Americans are considering BNPL loans, buy now, pay later, for their shopping this holiday season, an 8% jump from the same time last year. 8%. That's not like a 0.08. It's not 80%, but still 8%. Wow. Americans have more than $1 trillion in combined credit card debt, with the average household total of credit card debt at $8,000. Some consumers are making it worse via the buy now, pay later services like Affirm. Oh, that Affirm. How is that supposed to help you affirm anything? Your daily affirmation. I owe money. That's my daily affirmation. I owe. So off to work I go. Afterpay is another one. And is that Klarna? Okay. Looks like karma, but it's not. It's, I guess, what goes around comes around. You gotta, if you spend money that you don't have, eventually you gotta pay it back. These platforms often have lower interest rates than credit cards. Credit cards are around 21% annually. So buy now, pay later is just an easier way for big companies to convince you to spend money that you don't have. Don't do that.
As you know, there's a real scary holiday coming up.
Because at some point you'll have to pay. Is it Mayim Bialik? Mayim? She is out as Jeopardy host, leaving Ken Jennings as the sole answer asker.
Magnification.
High mortgage rates are making white picket dreams less attainable. The average new mortgage payment is 52% higher, way over half of what the average apartment rent is. So over a third of home sales last year were done in cash, with buyers easily, with lots of buyers easily outbid by corporations that bought homes. Interesting. That was last year, though. And Southwest Airlines, yes, run and try and find a seat. Oh, everybody's taken all the window seats. I guess I'm stuck in the aisle. No, literally, I'm going to just lay down in the aisle. Southwest fined $140 million for the huge holiday meltdown last year. Remember that? That was big. And what's his name? Bjanovich, the guy in charge of travel. He, that's what he said. Something like that. Blagojevich? Can't remember now off the top of my head. Well, the airline separately paid some $600 million to reimburse and refund stranded travelers. Now they owe $140 million. The Department of Travel said the penalty is 30 times larger than any previous fine for violating consumer protection rules. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth, look who's here. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I don't want to travel anywhere, Mike Matthews, because everything is crazy during the travel season and the weather is bad. It is bad. Really bad. And especially when you got a record-breaking storm surge hitting the East Coast and all that craziness. Hey, I have a snow globe right here that's a homemade snow globe. What do you think of that? I don't like it, Mike Matthews, because they should be made by the people that supply me with snow globes, Mike Matthews. And who is that? I can't say. It better not be some kind of like Chinese company, a company located in China, exploiting workers and all that. Mike Matthews, no comment at this time, Mike Matthews. Merry Christmas, buy a snow globe. That's okay. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, maybe that's why the snow globes that Chely Shoehart sells explode all the time. Mm-hmm. Ah! Yeah, none have gone off lately, but maybe it's because of the rain, the light rain we're getting here in Podcastro Valley. Oh, I'm going ASMR right now. The light rain we're getting in Podcastro Valley may be causing the explosives not to detonate. That could be Mike Matthews. Why are you trying to sound like me? I don't know. Did you like Popeye? I thought it was pretty good. I also like the nautical theme behind it. Nautical theme. Next show, it'll be, I'm going to just confuse people by calling the name of this show Nautical, and we'll see what happens, even though there's nothing to do with ocean stuff in the podcast picture. All right. But next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster. If you'd like to comment about anything we covered today, here is where you may do so. Call me here.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with more ways to reach me, it is A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.